I saw a post that said something like those who struggle deeply with lust have a specific calling towards intimacy with God. And I thought about it and it's been sitting with me, and I realized that a lot of us who are dealing with carnal sin, whether it be lust, whether it be envy, whether it be jealousy, whether it be pride, all of those are very, very much indicative of our spiritual gifts, or like something aligned directly to our purpose. And I find that a lot of women, specifically, and men that have experienced SA or some type of abuse in that way, or some type of mistreatment in that area, or have been exposed to, some would call it the Jezebel spirit or lust or fornication, or who've been deeply impacted by perversion. A lot of us, and I say us because I am one of those people that has a very tumultuous experience with that in life. A lot of us don't realize that we are, yeah, that we in fact are very much called towards deep intimacy with the Lord, extreme intimacy with the Lord. And the reason for that is the same core principles and tenets of lust and sexual perversion and things like that, which is specifically a deep yearning for connection, a deep yearning for validation, a deep yearning for intimacy, a deep yearning for pleasure. Those are all things that mimic what intimacy with God look like, yet in an unholy way. So basically, and this is a very, I don't want to go too deeply into this right now because I feel like the Lord is still working through this with me. But I just challenge you to see your sin issue as a counterfeit for what your spiritual gifts are, and see your sin issue, or the thing that seems hardest for you in this season, as a counterfeit idea or principle or characteristic of your personality that the Lord wants to use. And the reason that it is so hard for you to let go, the reason that it is so hard for you to live is that it is so deeply rooted in your core, and you are so deeply connected to your flesh at this time that it is hard for you to see how the Lord wants to use that in the spiritual, because the flesh is so overwhelming. So, all that being said, I just want to encourage you that if you are someone who has a very tumultuous past with lust or fornication or sexual sin or something like that, there is a lot of condemnation and shame associated to that. And it is also one of the types of sins that is extremely purported, perpetuated, encouraged in the world, because that is the one thing that, if you can understand how the Lord wants that for himself, it's intimacy with him. And not like sexual intimacy, but deep intimacy, a deep knowing, a deep into me you see. The Lord wants you to see into him, and he wants to see into you deeply. So the enemy would benefit greatly from you being extremely distracted by carnal and fleshly desires and things that would not serve you and that would take away and eat at your soul, because the enemy understands more deeply than you that to have that characteristic is something so powerful in the kingdom. To be able to be close with the Lord, to be able to be deeply intimate with the Lord, is one of the most powerful things that the Lord can give you in terms of a gift, or in terms of something associated with purpose. Yes, he wants us all to be close and intimate with him, but there are some people that are specifically called to faithfulness with the Lord. And if the enemy can get in there, and if the enemy can soil that, it will keep you from the Lord because you have so much shame around it. And so I just encourage you to know that, like, I am someone who has been restored from a history of sexual perversion, of sexual abuse, of, just fornication, needing for validation, carnal sin. Like, I am someone that can sit before you that I can tell you that I sit celibate. I don't even know how long, but like, I sit celibate. I don't, like, the Lord has called me to a life of separation from that in a very extreme way, like to the point where no, self pleasure, no corn, no, even like talking about these things is something that the Lord is like, even Intersex relationships and friendships, I'm very cautious of them now in this season, and I have a very strong net of accountability for that, because I know that that is the one thing that the enemy wants to use me for, and wants to use my sensuality, and wants to use my body, and wants to use that side of me, and wants to tap into that, because it's the very thing that stains the glass that sits between me and the Holy Spirit. Or I don't even want to say glass, but that is the one thing that bogs my spirit and clouds my spirit and makes me unable to hear from the Lord, and unable to see his grace, and unable to see his love for me, because there's so much shame attached to it, and so much perversion, and so much like it is a thing that cannot be satiated. Like your desire, your lust is something that can never be satisfied. And so if you start burrowing down that hole, you will see that your flesh will devour itself. And the enemy knows that. So, sister or brother, if you are someone who deals greatly in that area specifically, I encourage you and I implore you to turn it over to the Lord. And it's not going to be easy, but turn it over to the Lord, because he wants you for himself.